Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I was lucky enough to chat with Jacob Hopkins. Jacob is best known for his starring role as the voice of Gumball in the animated hit series The Amazing World of Gumball over on Cartoon Network. He currently lends his voice to the DreamWorks Animation series Dragon's Rescue Riders, a spin-off of the fan-favorite franchise How to Train Your Dragon. We discuss taking on an established voice role with Gumball, what he loves about being behind the mic, as well as in front of the camera, and much more. I hope you enjoy. Hey, Jacob, thanks so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure, Les. Nice to meet you.
So, some of the things I wanted to talk to you about were the differences between doing voice work and being on set, and then also starting a career young and having to deal with just adaptations of growth, just both your voice changing, like on Gumball, and just the added pressures of all of that while trying to go for auditions. Can you talk a little bit about getting into acting and getting into both voice work and being on camera?
Yeah, of course. Well, I started when I was about like 4, 5-ish, around there, and my dad was actually an actor before me, like my father before me. And one day we were running errands, something like that, and he asked me, hey, I need my agency. I had obviously no idea what that was. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And we go there, and I'm just like, there, and their agents look over and they're like, oh, who's this? This your son? Does he want to get into acting? Is he interested? And immediately I just shot up and I was like, yeah, sure. What's acting? Right? I really had like no concept of what it really was. I thought like the TV was just this magical world, right? So that was definitely like a growing experience as like a 4-year-old getting into the acting industry. I had to adapt at a very young age, like a business-like manner. I had to carry myself very professionally. Well, at the same time, I was being guided by my very loving and caring, protective parents. I never found myself in any situation where I was uncomfortable or any danger, right? I was always surrounded by people that basically I was their child too. Like they were looking out for me as well. My parents always made sure to keep me safe in that regard. And around like the age of 9 was when I got True Blood. And that was like the first break, right? That was like the big thing. Before that, I did like a small guest appearance in Priest with Paul Bettany. So like I got to do really cool stuff, right? But True Blood, playing Alexander Drew, the oldest and most powerful vampire on the council, but stuck in a 9-year-old's body, right? So there was like the irony there. I got to play, and that was super fun, man. Like a 9-year-old playing a vampire. For me, that couldn't get any better. And again, like on that set, True Blood is a very gory show, a lot of adult-themed content. But I was always, always, always protected. I felt safe there. Everyone was looking out for me, and it was a great experience. But I didn't get into on-camera acting until I was like around 11 years old. So before that time, I was doing solely on-camera work, whether that was TV, movies, print, You know, when you're on camera, you get to play I get to play a realness with my characters, basically. Not to say that voiceover doesn't have a realness, but there's like, you have to act with your body, with your facial expressions, right? There's a certain body language to it, is what I'm trying to say. But when I was 11, I got the role of Gumball Larson on the Amazing World of Gumball on Cartoon Network. And when I'm behind the mic, you get to be bigger than life, whereas on we're on camera, right? There's a realness to it. And behind the mic, you get to become like a vast amount of characters solely through your voice. And there's a lot of technique behind the microphone that has to do with the tone of your voice, the quality of your voice, right? Your diction, your pronunciation, your timing, your range, your pitch, not to mention, you know, embodying an animated character outside of yourself is, you know, basically one of the funnest things ever. But yeah, all in all, my experiences both behind the camera, behind the mic, I should say in front of the camera, has been awesome working with all types of wonderful cast and crews.
And on Gumball, you were second of, I guess, 3 voice actors total who have been that character now. Is that correct?
Right.
So
Right. Yeah.
Was there an added pressure or a fan? Did you have any stress or worry about that you were going to
yeah,
get
I
the
was
voice
about
right?
to say, yeah. I actually watched the show. I think I started watching it when I was actually doing True Blood when I was 9. That's how early the show had come out. Logan Grove was the voice before me. He did the first 2 seasons out of 6. And then I came on for seasons 3, 4, and some, and like I'd say around half of 5. And I wouldn't say there was like a pressure, because like when I was 11, I never really felt pressure. Growing up at a young age and developing all the skills that you need in the business, like I mentioned, I didn't really feel much pressure. It was more of excitement and wanting to basically prove myself that I could live up to basically my role model when I was growing up watching the show. And over time, right, I started out trying to get a feel for Logan's, you know, sense of acting as Gumball, but over time I made the character my own, and that's and in that situation, that's what you have to do as voice acting, right? I talked about embodying an animated character outside of yourself. You have to make that your own character. But it was definitely really great. I got to share. I did get to meet Logan. He's a great guy. I've hung out with him like a couple of times. Very humbled, very, very respectable person. And I remember when I first, I trained for the role for like 2 months, right? And then my first time going into the booth, which was around like beginning of month 2, I decided I wanted to leave him Logan a note. And because I knew he was going to come back to record some pickups for some lines in earlier episodes. And I wrote him a note saying, just basically, hey, Logan, you know, it's me, Jacob, right? And I said, you've been my inspiration as a voice actor, a role model, you know, and I just want to say thank you so much for the laughs and, you know, just basically thank you for everything, right? And the next time, the second time I went back into the booth, he had left a note saying, you're going to go far, kid, and make this your own, basically. And it was a really awesome experience.
Did you do anything similar, passing the baton to Nicholas?
Yeah, so we didn't necessarily leave a note with each other. We actually work on the same show together. We work on Dragon's Rescue Riders together, which is a DreamWorks series on Netflix. Yeah, which is really crazy. He plays, I play Axel Fink, one of the humans, and then he plays Dak, another one of the humans as well. So there's a bit of banter back and forth between those roles because he's more of like, he's kind of like a Star-Lord type of character there, and I'm more like a mix of Star-Lord and Deadpool, right? I'm a little bit of good and a little bit of bad. He's just like the good guy, right? That's really fun to play. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about getting the role for Dragon Rescue Riders, recording that show? Was there any Was it just kind of a different voice gig for you, or was there bringing on the pressure of the love of the franchise and all of that?
No, no pressure at all. I was a huge fan. I still am of How to Train Your Dragon series. I read all the books growing up, watched all the movies, and when I first got the news that I would have the chance to be a part of this universe that I grew up loving was just, I wouldn't say bizarre, but like it was just beyond me. I couldn't really put it into words. And still am like super stoked to be a part of it. The audition process was just like any other audition. Gumball was more like training to be the role because that was my first time voice acting. But during those 3 or 4 years of doing that role, I had learned so much about voice acting and how to do it professionally and everything. So the voiceover, the auditioning process for Axel was more or less like, just another audition. But what was really cool about it was I got to go into the DreamWorks studio to audition for it. And I got to go into various, I was called back a few times. I got to go into Salami Studios, which does a lot of anime, Tim Burton stuff, which is awesome. So I got to go in a lot of different studios, got to work with great people. Yeah, and it's awesome to be a part of it. I play Axel Fink, who I mentioned. He's like I mentioned he's like the Star-Lord Deadpool. A little bit of good, a little bit of bad, a little bit of both. You never really know what the guy is up to. He basically has his own agenda. You see him more often than not teaming up with his evil genius uncle, Magnus Fink. But sometimes he joins with the Rescue Riders, and it's not more or less he's on board with the other people's agenda. He's mainly trying to get something for himself, which more often than not is a dragon. And we don't really know why he wants one for himself, what he plans to do with it, but we'll find out later.
And so just in looking at your career so far, I'm amazed that I feel like any friends of mine, any age group, and any kind of nerdery level should have seen something that you're in, honestly. If they didn't watch Gumball, or if they haven't watched Rescue Riders, they've likely seen True Blood or are watching the Goldbergs. Can you talk a little bit about you've done voiceover work, you've done cartoons, you've done something like True Blood that's, you're 9 and it's gory as hell. Can you talk a little bit about being on something that I feel like is one of the more classic sitcoms that's been on the air in the last few years?
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, being on Goldbergs is awesome. I mean, I'm not from the 80s era, but I have parents who are, so I'm a huge fan of it. I love classic rock. I love all the 80s film, pop culture, video games, everything about it is really cool to me. So being on that set is, I wouldn't say it's nostalgic for me, but like growing up with that stuff that I was introduced to, technically it's nostalgic for me. But yeah, the people I get to work with are great. It's basically like a second family. It's really, really awesome.
I can imagine you getting that role and then your parents just having a constant rolling like.
Yeah. Well, like, what was really cool about the audition process for Chad was like, I remember like one of the very first lines, and I auditioned for this when I was like 11, I think. One of the very first lines was like, "I've seen Tron 16 times. My mom's actually kind of worried." And I was like, oh, I really do relate to that.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for making time to talk to me about all this today. Really, I've enjoyed you on Goldbergs on so many things. Folks can go watch Dragon Rescue Riders right now over on Netflix. And of course, you've got Return to Movies coming up. You've got Carolyn Calling in post-production now. The Carolina's Calling.
Right.
Let me mispronounce that. Well, thanks again for talking to me about it all. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, man.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.